Hello everyone, my name is Devin Kraus, and for the past 4 years I've been trying to become an animator. If you're watching this video expecting a tutorial, then you're in the wrong place. But that doesn't mean you won't find something you might be looking for. This isn't a how-to series or just a bunch of random tutorials, although I might do some tutorials in a few weeks once I've had a little bit of practice. No, this is more of a documentation of my journey to becoming an animator. I will, however, be linking any and all books, online courses, tutorials, animations, animators, and anything else that I use in these videos. So with that said, welcome to An Animator in the Making. Well, do I feel lazy? The good news is I'm not dead, but I took like a whole week off after being hit by some major burnout. I just didn't feel like doing anything, honestly. But I started this new job, and it's just been like really weird transitioning into it, and it's just kind of burned me out really on just any motivation. But I'm finally back, and hopefully I can get back to uploading weekly. Anyways, on to today's video. This week, I kind of worked on the Queen and the King on their turnarounds. I want to be able to rig these characters so I can do some animation with them, and I just kind of wanted to see how they kind of look in a 3D kind of space. So I did them from the side, angle, back, all that. I kind of like how they turned out. So far, I haven't seen any like symmetrical or any turning issues to where it like looks unrealistic, but I do like this depth to it that I've added. One thing I like about these characters, very simple shapes. So that makes it very easy to just do instant turnaround just about. I made both of these turnarounds actually rather quickly. The hardest part I'd say was probably the crown, just because it was kind of figuring out where all the detail went. The dress was honestly the easiest because I just moved over those kind of like fold lines, or creases, or whatever you want to call them, and I just added some more to the back of them to kind of give it the illusion that it's moving. I didn't really do any lighting changes on it, because this is kind of in like a white light setting where no real lighting matters. If I do actual scenes with them, I'd probably add a little bit of more dramatic lighting. Honestly, I might do some artwork soon with them. I know I keep saying that, but I really need to commit to that. I need to commit to just doing some artwork with them, where I can do some actual lighting on their like armor or clothing, so I can actually see what it looks like. Because one thing I know I need to work on is my lighting. I had kind of a rough concept of it, but I never really understood fully, like, lighting as a concept. I've taken a lot of classes on it, but I've never done it in recent art of mine. So I need to see if that's something I have down, or if that's just something I've just ignored for so long that I've just kind of lost it as a concept. When I'm done with them, they'll even be rigged, and if I made them right, they'll move very easily in that rig, and it'll be a very, I don't want to say crude movement, but it'll be a very simple movement. It might not even look very lifelike. I'm going to try to go as lifelike as I can, because that's kind of the whole point of me doing this, but I want to also just see how long it takes to make some animated stuff. So it's just one of those things I just want to do for myself and figure out, how does this work? Because I haven't done probably an animation in a good 1.5 years now. And the last one I did, I just did the most inefficient way. It's very ugly when it came out. It took forever to make. I'd say I spent a good 2 years on it, and it only came out to about, I think, 10 minutes long, maybe 20 minutes. I'm not exactly sure how long it was. I have to go see if I could find it on my computer. I'm probably not going to post it here, because I just think it's an atrocity. Not unless all of you want to see it, but most of y'all would probably click off and be like, this is the cringiest thing I ever watched. But yeah, I'm wanting to just try and get back into that, because I've kind of been putting off animation in total just for almost a full year, and if I ever want to go into an industry, you just can't do that. You have to get some experience behind you. Otherwise, anyone that looks at anything you make just on the spot will just laugh at you. They'll be like, what is this? Because you don't have any like training or like practice behind you. So without that, you'll just sit there and never get a job in the animation industry and be wondering why you're stuck in some job you don't want to work. If you want to get into the animation industry, you do need to actually put the effort into it. And that's one thing that I think I kind of learned with this kind of burnout this last week. I'm not putting in enough effort into it. I'm just kind of trying to take a minimal route to it, so I need to commit to that. I need to make animation something that I think is fun. If I don't think it's fun, I'm definitely in the wrong job. Now on to the king. The king was actually, I'd say, the hardest of the two to make, even though he's symmetrical on both sides. Yeah, it was very easy to flip him and then just add some simple drawings on him on the back to make it seem like a back layer instead of a front layer. But the hard part was actually when I rotated him to the side. The queen, oddly enough, was very easy on the side, even though she's not symmetrical. But the king, because of his cape, is the main reason. He became very difficult. His cape and his crown were actually very unique to do in those spaces. They weren't like impossible or like super difficult. I'd say I figured it out in under 20 minutes, maybe 30 minutes max. But yeah, it just took me a while to make it look believable in those spaces and not look like he just scribbled something on paper and just said, oh yeah, that's a cape. Yeah, that's a crown right there. No, I actually wanted to make it look good when I did a turnaround of the character. So I spent some time on the crown, and actually you may notice this, when I do the angled part of the side view, the crown I accidentally added an extra spike in the background. Eventually I caught it and deleted it, but while looking at it, I couldn't figure out, why does it look different from every other one I made? So I just kind of played with everything on the crown until I finally figured out I put one too many spikes up there. It's very interesting working in 3D spacing on 2D paper, just because when you actually break stuff down to their core elements, you're like, oh, I never thought of that. It might have helped me to make these characters in Blender first if I actually knew how to use that very well, but honestly, I think this is a good exercise too. I might actually do that sometime in the future. I don't think next week by any standards, but I do want to try Blender out again and see if I can do anything good in it. I don't know why, but for some reason my tablet doesn't like working in Blender. I am looking at getting a new one just because I think mine just might be outdated. But yeah, if I can get a good working tablet, I'm definitely going to play with Blender more in the future. One thing I do think I didn't nail might be the design on the cape, and maybe the one on the front of the armor. It doesn't look entirely believable, it just kind of looks flat. The cape one I think looks okay, but that's probably because the cape's already a flat material and that kind of translates well with the object that I put on it. But the armor, I'm not sure. I might make that logo on it a little 3D like I did on the crown. I don't know yet. I'm gonna play around with it, see how it looks in some simple animation. The problem is if you oversimplify something, it doesn't look believable. But there is a point where you make things too complicated, where you just spend so much time on it to look realistic, you risk either A, just wasting time on something that you need it, or B, you accidentally make it look unrealistic by trying to make it look more realistic. I know that sounds like a contradiction, but it does happen. You spend too much time on something and you think that's the most realistic it will look. Cartoons aren't always supposed to look super realistic. The kind of point of them is they're supposed to be kind of stretchy and kind of funky things. Like, look at any episode of the Looney Tunes. They squash and stretch in impossible ways. Get smashed by a hammer? Oh yeah, that guy's a pancake. He'll be fine. Get blown up by a bomb, turn to dust? Oh yeah, that's super realistic. He'll come back from that. So my point is, you gotta be realistic enough to where it can be comparable to real life, but not so realistic to where you take away the fact that cartoons break physics. I mean, this is actually the core lesson in Ollie Williams and Frank Thomas's book, The Illusion of Life. It's, you gotta be unrealistic enough to make it entertaining, but realistic enough that someone can associate it with everyday life. I mean, Bugs Bunny is the perfect example of this. I mean, just take a look at him. He's a rabbit, but he resembles a human more than anything. That's what's familiar about him. The fact that he resembles both a rabbit and a human. So when you're watching the show, you can put anyone in that scenario, but you gotta convey your message realistically enough to where people can relate to it. But you don't want it to get so realistic, it hinders the story. You gotta make sure you've got some reason that it's there. If it's just there to exist, then, and it doesn't do anything, it's just aesthetic, people are gonna treat it like it's an aesthetic and treat the character the same. Now back to the top of this video where I commented that I might be in the wrong industry if I'm not putting in the effort. That's not to say I'm giving up on animation. No, I'm truly passionate about animation. I just gotta find time for it. Because honestly, I'm just putting time into other things. If I don't let those things take a back seat, then I'm just gonna keep doing them and I will just never progress. I'll just keep working at this same pace where I sometimes get a video out every week or I just miss the video. If I just let that keep happening, I'll keep giving excuses to myself. So if I want to become an animator, I do need to just buckle down and work on it. And that's kind of the lesson I think I learned this week. It's, if you don't work and you procrastinate, you won't see the fruits of your labor. It's just common sense, honestly. You have to be passionate about it, or you just sit there and you just say, oh yeah, I'm gonna do this, and do nothing about it. And that's kind of where I'm gonna end this video. Just on that thought. If you want to do something, you have to do it. You can't just say for years, like I kind of have at this point, oh yeah, this is something I really want to do, and then do nothing about making rich from it. Anyways, I've rambled on long enough. This time I'm committing myself. Next week, I will have an animation of at least the king and queen. I am going to work on the horseman, and if I don't run out of time, I will have some kind of animation with him as well. It's not going to be anything fancy, don't think anything like that, but I would love to do kind of a dance scene with the king and queen, just so I can get some perspective on that. So I'll probably make a very simple dance room background, maybe do some dramatic lighting in it. I don't know if I'll do lighting, because if I'm not good at that actually, I might ignore that for that one animation. But I'm definitely going to make an animation for next week, more than just a walk cycle. Because honestly, walk cycles are very easy to do. I want to do something a little more challenging, especially with these simple rigs. So, hold me to it for my 2 viewers that might be watching this. Next week, I will have some kind of animation besides a walk cycle. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next week.
Destruction!
Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this episode, please like and subscribe. If you want to know when I upload my next video, then don't forget to turn on notifications. And if you know someone who you think would enjoy this video, then please share it with them. Also, we have a Reddit page now, so please come ruin it.